As the gavel rang out like thunder, cutting through the thick atmosphere in the courtroom, I, Noah, sat motionless in the defendant's chair, my eyes fixed on Ava's lawyer, my ex-wife, once vowed to live and die by my side. The light from the large chandelier above seemed to clearly illuminate every bead of sweat on my forehead, but my heart was cold. "Your Honor," Ava's attorney said loudly, his voice resonating confidently throughout the room. "We have evidence that proves my client, Ava, had her husband's consent to attend the swingers party. It was not an act of betrayal. It was an agreement between both parties." I froze. Proof? Agreement? The words fell like knives to my heart. The video appeared on the big screen in front of me, me, saying, "If that's what you want, do it." Ava's eyes flashed with defiance in the video, while I nodded coldly. The room fell silent. I wanted to scream, to bang on the table in protest, but my throat was constricted. How could such a blatantly edited, rigged video be used against me? The video scene flashed before my eyes, but the real memories came flooding back like a storm. I remembered that night when Ava insisted on going to Liam's party. The long arguments, her pleading, and finally, my words, "If that's what you want, do it." But I didn't agree in my heart. It was just a surrender in a fight I was too tired to continue. I glanced at Ava sitting across from me, her cold smile and smug attitude making my blood boil. The woman who had once been my everything now sat there, turning everything we had into a power play. The attorney continued, his tone as sharp as a knife. "Your Honor, this video shows that Noah not only agreed to, but encouraged his wife to attend that event. This completely refutes the accusation of betrayal." The room seemed to spin around me. The lawyer's words seemed to suffocate any defense in my mind. But what surprised me most was that Ava, the woman I'd loved so much, had quietly made me the villain in her own story. "Don't let them win," a voice said in my head. In an instant, I swallowed my feelings of betrayal, turning the pain into determination. If Ava thought she could take me down with a fake video, she was sorely mistaken. My eyes scanned the courtroom. They whispered to each other, their eyes half curious, half pitying. In that moment, I realized I was fighting not just Ava, but the image of a husband who was seen as a weakling, who let his wife betray him without reacting. Ava, sitting not far from me, crossed her arms over her chest, a triumphant smile on her face. This was not the woman I'd loved, the woman I built a family with over the years. She was now a stranger, cold and cruel, ready to crush me to win. On the screen, the video continued to play. My voice in the video coldly said, "Do whatever you want." But the truth was buried behind it. It wasn't consent, but words of desperation after days of arguing. Ava used that video, edited it into a weapon against me. I thought back to that fateful evening. Ava had used every excuse, including the fact that the couple next door, Liam and Clara, had found their relationship improved by going to parties like that. She had convinced me that this was the only way to save our marriage. And when I had nothing left to say, I said, "If you want to ruin everything, go ahead." Ava edited that statement into a yes, creating a new story. Now, she was using that very thing to smear me, to make me look like a fool in everyone's eyes. Ava was not just a cheating wife. She had planned it all along. I realized that attending the swingers party was not just a moment of impulse, but part of an elaborate plan. By using the party as a cover, Ava made the betrayal seem consensual. Not only that, I began to suspect that Liam, the party organizer, was not a bystander. He and Ava may have colluded to victimize me. I bowed my head, pretending to be devastated, but inside I was seething. She had crossed the line. If she thought I would sit back and let myself be destroyed, she was wrong. The court adjourned to let everyone rest. I walked out of the courtroom, my eyes still fixed forward, showing no emotion. Ava watched me, surely thinking she had won. But inside me, a plan began to form. I called my lawyer and asked to have the video fact-checked. If she could edit it, I would find out. I also started remembering details from the party Ava had attended. Something was wrong. Something she had tried to hide. I decided to dig deeper to find the truth behind this layer of lies. When I returned to the courtroom, I faced Ava. For a moment, her eyes locked with mine. She still had that arrogant smile, but this time, I didn't feel the anger or pain I had felt before. Instead, I felt a strange calmness, a feeling I hadn't felt since it all began. I realized that this was no longer a fight for honor or fortune. This was my chance to overthrow Ava, not just for revenge, but to reinvent myself. I would not just win this trial. I would rebuild my life, turn my pain into motivation, and prove her wrong about me. It all started on a seemingly ordinary night. I, Noah, was sitting on the sofa in the living room, engrossed in the news feed on my phone. Ava, my wife, walked in, her eyes sparkling in a strange way. She didn't sit next to me as usual, but stood in the middle of the room, biting her lip, a habit she had when she was about to say something awkward. "Noah," she said, hesitant but determined. "I want to tell you something." I looked up, my eyes leaving the screen. "What is it?" I asked, sensing something was off about her demeanor. She paused, then finally said something I could never forget. "Liam and Clara invited us to a party, but not an ordinary party." "What do you mean, not normal?" I frowned, trying to understand what she meant. Ava clenched her fists as if gathering the courage to continue. "It was a swingers party," she said, her voice trailing off, as if afraid I might lose control. "They said it was fun, and it helped them bond." I was stunned. Those words were like a bomb going off in my head. Swingers? Sleeping with other people? I laughed uncontrollably, sure this was just some weird joke. "Are you serious?" I asked, my smile fading as I realized she wasn't joking. Her eyes were serious, and it made my blood run cold. "I think maybe it would be good for us," Ava continued, her voice growing firm. "We've been on the same treadmill for so long, Noah. I think trying something new would make us happier." I couldn't believe my ears. 8 years of marriage, 2 kids, and now she wanted to be happier by sleeping with someone else. My heart sank, partly with anger, but mostly with disappointment. "Ava, are you listening to yourself?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "We're not Liam and Clara. I don't need this to be happy." She bit her lip, not out of nervousness this time, but out of frustration. "I just wanted to try it. One night. It doesn't mean cheating. It's just fun. I think you should be more relaxed." Her words were like knives cutting into my self-esteem. Did she think I was too boring to keep her love? But then, mixed with the pain, was an internal struggle. I still loved her. I didn't want everything to collapse just because of a crazy proposal. The next few days were a nightmare. Ava wouldn't give up. She kept trying to talk about the party, each time trying to convince me with all sorts of reasons. "I want to save this marriage, Noah," she said during one argument. "Don't let prejudice ruin this chance." "Save it?" I laughed bitterly. "You think seeing you with someone else will make me love you more? That's ridiculous." She looked at me with disappointment, her eyes filled with reproach. "This isn't about you. This is about us. I want us both to be happy." I didn't know how to respond. How could she think that breaking the basic rules of marriage was the way to happiness? Every time Ava brought it up, I felt like a part of my love for her was eroded away. The fateful day finally arrived. After days of endless arguing, Ava seemed to have lost her patience. That evening, as I tucked our little girl Lily into bed, Ava was waiting in the living room. She had her arms crossed over her chest, her eyes colder than ever. "Noah, I've thought it through," she announced, her voice full of determination. "I'm going to the party, whether you agree or not." I stood still, not believing my ears. "What? Are you serious, Ava?" "Yes," she replied without hesitation. "If you won't change, then I'll do it myself. You can't stop me." My heart ached. The woman I loved, who had once been my whole world, now saw me as an obstacle, as something that needed to be removed in order for her to achieve what she called freedom. The feeling of helplessness overwhelmed me, but at the same time, a rage flared up inside me. I walked towards her, my voice low, but every word I spoke was cold as ice. "Ava, listen, if you leave, we're done. I won't stay with a woman who's willing to destroy our marriage just for one night of fun." She curled her lips slightly, as if what I just said didn't faze her at all. "Really, Noah? You're willing to throw away 8 years of marriage for one night that I don't even consider serious? No, I said, looking straight at her. You're the one who's throwing everything away. You decided to ruin everything. Don't blame me. Ava stood still for a moment, then suddenly sneered. So be it. If you're too old-fashioned to see beyond that, that's your problem, not mine. I turned away, not wanting to see her anymore. But before I could leave the room, Ava said something that froze me in place. If you don't believe me, I'll film it. I'll show you that it doesn't mean anything. I turned back, looking at her with surprise and disappointment. You think filming yourself sleeping with someone else will make me feel better? You're crazy. No, Noah, she replied, her voice eerily calm. I just want you to understand that this isn't as serious as you think. I shook my head, not wanting to continue. If you really want to do this, Ava, then do it. But remember, once you walk out this door, there's no turning back. That night, Ava left in a tight black dress and high heels she hadn't worn in years. I stood there watching her walk through the door, my heart heavy. The door closed, and I felt a part of me close with it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, staring at my phone screen, wondering what Ava was doing and who she was with. Jealousy, pain, and helplessness swirled inside me, but I knew there was no explanation that could justify her actions. The next morning, Ava came home around 10 a.m., looking completely unrepentant. She walked in with a smile on her face, her eyes shining with self-satisfaction. Her black dress was rumpled, her makeup smudged, but her demeanor was as if nothing major had just happened. Good morning, she said, her voice soft but seductive. I brought you what you needed. She raised her phone, waving it in front of my face. I looked at her, speechless. My heart pounded as she placed the phone on the table, her eyes challenging me. Here, she said. Watch it. I recorded it, like I promised. I didn't touch the phone. Instead, I stood up, my voice dry. Ava, you don't have to do this. I know everything I need to know. She chuckled. Really? That's good. Because now it's clear, Noah. I'm doing this for both of us. When Ava left the room, I felt like my world had collapsed beneath me. I loved her, but that love was now like a knife, stabbing at my heart. How could someone who had sworn to be there for me in my hardest times betray me so easily? But along with the pain, a small light flickered inside me, a light of determination. If she'd chosen to break everything, I would not let myself be consumed by grief forever. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I knew one thing. Ava would pay. That night, after Ava left, I sat in the quiet house, the only sound being the steady ticking of the clock. I couldn't focus on anything. My mind was filled with images of what she might be doing at that party. Who were they? What was happening? Pain and jealousy coursed through every cell of my body, as if I were being pricked with 1,000 tiny needles. I stared at the phone, wanting to call Ava, wanting to scream at her to come home immediately. But then my pride held me back. If I did, I would only make her think I was a weakling, a man who couldn't hold on to his wife. Instead, I poured myself a stiff drink, took a big gulp, and tried to calm down. I couldn't stop her from doing this, but I could prepare myself for what was coming next. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but in my heart, a clear feeling arose. This was more than just a party. This was the turning point that would change everything. Ava came home the next morning, the morning sun streaming through the window as the front door opened. She walked in with a relaxed look, her lips curled up as if everything was completely normal. But I knew. Her eyes couldn't hide her arrogance and a little confusion. I'm home, Ava said, her voice light. She walked into the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and leaned against the counter, looking at me impassively. Last night was great. Really? I tried to keep my voice calm, but the anger inside me was hard to hide. You seem very pleased. Yeah, she said, picking up her drink and taking a sip. And here, I kept my promise. She took her phone out of her purse and set it on the table. I recorded it, like you asked. It's all here. I glanced at the phone, feeling both disgusted and hurt. How could she be so calm? I said nothing, just stood up and walked out of the room. Ava didn't stop me, she just smiled slightly, as if victory was in her hands. I couldn't help but check Ava's phone. I picked it up while she was out, sitting alone in the living room. My hands were shaking as I unlocked it and started watching the video. What was happening on the screen was beyond anything I could have imagined. Ava wasn't just attending the party, she was completely immersed in it. The laughter, the music, the sweet words, all of it was like a knife stabbing at my self-esteem. She showed no hesitation or reluctance, completely enjoying every moment. But the worst didn't stop there. As I continued watching, I discovered that Ava had more than one partner that night. She had been with several, each video making her betrayal ever more clear. I felt like I was being crushed by a giant boulder. Everything I had believed in, everything I had tried to build with Ava, was now in ruins. She had not only betrayed me, but she had taken pride in that betrayal. I sat there, frozen in my seat, my eyes glued to the screen of my phone. Every frame was a reminder of how my love and trust had been mercilessly trampled. I wanted to smash the phone, to scream, to destroy everything related to her. But instead, I just sat there, feeling empty. She doesn't love me anymore, I thought. She's made a fool of me. Not just to herself, but to everyone in that room. But along with the pain, another thought began to take hold. If Ava thought she could get away with this without paying the price, she was wrong. I would not let her continue to control my life. I would fight back, and I would take back everything she had taken from me. I couldn't get the images from Ava's videos out of my mind, but there was one detail that kept coming back to me. Liam. In each video, he appeared not just as the host, but as a central figure in everything that happened. He smiled, raised his glass to toast, and even exchanged intimate glances with Ava. It was clear to me that this party was not just fun. As Ava had said, Liam was not just a host. He was a manipulator, pulling people into his web, and Ava somehow had fallen under his control. I decided to find out more. Liam and I had never been close, but I knew exactly what kind of man he was. Powerful, wealthy, and not above manipulating others to get his way. If he was involved in this, it was no accident. That night, when Ava came home from work, I decided to confront her. Sitting across from her at the dining table, I slid my phone toward her, the video already open. "Is this what you call not serious, Ava?" I asked, my voice low but clear. She glanced at the screen but didn't look apologetic. Instead, she shrugged. "I told you, Noah. It doesn't mean anything. It was just a fun night. Nothing more." I felt anger rising. "It doesn't make sense. You destroyed everything we ever built, Ava. And you think an explanation is enough?" Ava kept her tone casual. "You're overreacting. It's just physical, Noah. It doesn't change anything between us." "What is between us?" I laughed bitterly. "What is between us, Ava? You betrayed me. And not only that, you turned it into a game." She was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly turned to me, her eyes tired. "Noah, if you can't get through this, then I don't know what else to do. I have no regrets." That was the last straw. I realized that Ava wasn't just unapologetic, she was absolutely convinced she was right. But in my anger, I realized something. Ava wasn't the type to make such big decisions on her own. Someone had encouraged her, made her think that her actions were right, and that person was most likely Liam. I remembered Liam's eyes in the video, the way he watched Ava as if she were part of his plan. I needed to know the truth, and to do that, I had to confront him. The next day, I went to Liam's house, using the excuse of wanting to talk about the party, to see him. He opened the door with a friendly smile, but I could see the suspicion in his eyes. "Hi, Noah," he said, his voice full of confidence. "Here to ask about the party? I assume Ava told you all about it." I stepped in, trying to keep my composure. "Yes, she did. But I want to hear it from you. Do you know what really happened?" Liam smirked, then poured himself a glass of wine. "Noah, you have to understand. Parties like this aren't for everyone, but for some, it's a way to release themselves." "Free yourself?" I interrupted, my voice harsh. "You think pushing someone else's wife into this is liberating?" Liam looked at me, his eyes shining with mischief. "She made her choice, Noah. I didn't force it on anyone. But perhaps you should ask yourself why she made it." Liam's words took me by surprise. Not only did he acknowledge his role, but he also implied that Ava was involved for deeper reasons, perhaps out of displeasure with me, or something I hadn't yet realized. Before I left, Liam added something that made everything clear. Noah, you know, sometimes people aren't just looking for novelty, they're looking for empathy, and sometimes they find it in people like me. I left Liam's house, my mind reeling. There had been more than just physical betrayal, but a connection between Ava and Liam, a connection I had never known existed. Ava had not only been pulled into Liam's game, but perhaps she had been more willing than I thought. Back home, I realized something important. If I was going to get through this, I couldn't just sit there and let it continue. Ava and Liam had made me a victim, but I wasn't going to let myself be a victim forever. I was going to find a way to turn things around, not just to protect myself, but to prove them wrong in underestimating me. She will pay, I thought, not only for betraying me, but also for making a fool of me. After my encounter with Liam, a sense of unease continued to plague me. Every word he said, from his knowing smile to his sarcastic confidence, haunted me. Clearly, Ava was more than a mere seducer. She had chosen this path with full awareness. But why? What had driven her to this point? I tried to put the pieces together in my head. Maybe there were cracks in our relationship that I didn't see. Maybe Ava felt lonely, unappreciated, but that didn't justify the betrayal. And Liam, what role did he play in this story? Why did he care so much about Ava that he was willing to destroy someone else's marriage? Unable to bear the suspicion, I had decided to investigate further. I started with Ava's phone. After she fell asleep, I stealthily took it, my palms sweating. I didn't want to do this, but I needed answers. In my message history, amid casual conversations with friends and colleagues, I found a familiar name, Liam. My heart pounded as I opened their message thread. Short but meaningful lines appeared. Liam, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. You just do your part. Ava, I'm just afraid Noah will find out. Liam, he won't know. You deserve to be happy, Ava. Don't let him hold you back. These messages not only confirm their relationship, but also reveal a larger conspiracy. Ava was not accidentally dragged into the swingers party. She was manipulated, or even willingly participated with encouragement from Liam. I continued searching Ava's phone, this time focusing on notes and photos. Finally, I found a suspicious note titled, Plan. The note contained only a few lines, but they left me speechless. Convinced Noah to agree. Make sure to record to avoid blame. Make it clear that this is your decision, not forced. The feeling of betrayal was overwhelming. This wasn't just a fun night or a spontaneous event. This was a plan with a clear goal in mind. Ava hadn't just betrayed me, she'd deliberately planned to ruin it all. But what is the purpose of this plan? What is Ava trying to achieve? I need more answers, and there's only one person who can provide them. Liam. I decided to confront Liam again. This time, there was no reserve or hesitation. I arrived at his house late one evening, the door opening when I knocked loudly. Liam stood there, looking slightly surprised, but still maintaining his usual cool confidence. Noah, he said, his voice flat. I didn't think I'd see you again so soon. I didn't come here to chat, I replied, looking straight at him. I want the truth. What did Ava and you have planned? Liam shrugged, took a step back, and invited me inside. If you want the truth, I'll tell you, but I don't think you're ready to hear it. Liam poured himself a glass of wine, sat down on the couch, and looked at me with a provocative gaze. You know what, Noah? Not all women want the quiet, boring life you think they do. Ava is one of them. She wants more. What are you talking about? I gritted my teeth, trying to stay calm. She didn't just want to change, Liam continued. She wanted to get away from you, but she didn't have the courage to do it. So, I gave her a little help, some advice, a little encouragement, and it worked out, as you can see. I felt like I had been doused with cold water. Ava had not just betrayed me out of curiosity or temptation. She had used Liam as a tool to do what she had never dared to do, destroy our marriage. Liam's words were like a sharp knife, cutting deep into my self-esteem. Ava had not only betrayed me, she had calculated to make me the last obstacle to the new life she wanted. I looked at Liam, anger rising, but I held back, trying to keep my composure. Is she really happy? I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. Liam raised an eyebrow, as if surprised by my reaction. Happy? He smirked. I think she's looking for something you can't give her. Sometimes marriage is a cage, Noah, and not everyone wants to be trapped in it. I didn't reply, just stood up and walked out of Liam's house. But inside my head, everything was swirling like a storm. I couldn't let this end. Ava and Liam thought they had won, but they didn't know they had just awakened a man who had nothing left to lose, and that made me more dangerous than ever. Back home, I sprang into action. I had proof of Ava's betrayal, videos, texts, and now, Liam's confession. But to undo it all, I needed the perfect plan. One that would not only prove the truth, but also make them both pay. First, I backed up all the data from Ava's phone and saved it to a secure hard drive. Next, I hired a private investigator to dig deeper into Liam. I wanted to know everything: his finances, his relationships, and any scandals that could bring him down. Liam was the one in charge, and I needed to take him down before Ava could. A few weeks later, the private investigator sent me a detailed report. What I read made me realize that Liam was more than just a manipulator. He was a predator, using swinger parties to cover up a web of infidelity and financial fraud. He lured people into open relationships, then exploited their personal information for his own gain. I also discovered that Ava wasn't the only one he had seduced. Liam had destroyed at least 2 previous marriages, and they all followed a similar script: convince, manipulate, and then trap the couple. With all the evidence in hand, I decided to confront Ava one last time. I had no more feelings of wanting to salvage anything. All I wanted was to expose the truth and make her face the consequences. Sit down, Ava, I said, my voice calm but sharp. We need to talk. She looked at me, frowning slightly. What is it? I don't have time to listen to your complaints. I turned on my laptop and opened the videos and messages I had backed up. Ava's face went from blank to shocked, then angry. You went through my phone, she yelled. Yes, I said. And I talked to Liam too. I know everything, Ava. Everything. Ava stood up, but I didn't give her a chance to react. Sit down, I snapped, my voice cold for the first time in our marriage. You have no right to talk to me anymore. This ends right here. I handed Ava a divorce agreement, which included custody of the kids and no access to any of our assets. You're going to sign this, I said, my voice firm. If you don't, I'm going to go public with everything I know. Liam, the parties, and your whole sleazy network. She smiled faintly, but I could see the fear in her eyes. You think you can scare me? No, I replied. I don't need to threaten. I just do it. Ava looked at me, her eyes showing uncertainty for the first time. She knew I had everything I needed to bring her and Liam down. Ava reluctantly signed the divorce agreement, but before she left, she turned back, her eyes defiant. You may think you've won, Noah, but you'll never truly be free of me. I didn't respond. I just watched her walk out the door, taking what was left of our marriage with her. But inside me, something had changed. I was no longer the man crushed by betrayal. I was a man rebuilding his life, and Ava, along with Liam, would pay the price. When Ava left my life, the house became strangely quiet. It was a gloomy silence, as if everything in my life had been erased. I sat in the living room, staring at old family photos, each frame now a bitter memory. I had no comfort other than my 2 children, Lily and Ethan. They were the only source of light in this dark time. But when I saw their clear eyes, I realized that I could not continue to drown in pain. I had to stand up, not only for myself, but for them. I will do it again, I told myself. And this time, I will not just survive, I will win. After my divorce, I moved out of the house that was filled with painful memories and into a small apartment. It was a modest space, but enough for me to start over. I spent the first few days trying to get my life back in order, from work to taking care of my children. It was all hard, but I knew I had to do better. I started thinking about my future. Before, I was just an ordinary office worker, living a safe and unremarkable life. But now I realized that that safety was what was holding me back, preventing me from becoming the best version of myself. I need an idea, I thought, an idea big enough to change my life. While cleaning out old documents, I came across a business plan I had drafted years ago. It was an idea for a platform connecting freelancers with businesses, a model that I believed had great potential. But because I was afraid of the risk, I put it on hold, choosing the safe path of my current job. Looking at the plan, I felt a small light flash in my heart. Why not? I had nothing to lose. If this was my chance to change, I would take it. With renewed determination, I got to work. Every evening after putting the kids to bed, I sat down at my desk, researching, writing, and planning. I reached out to old friends in the industry for feedback and connections. I spent my weekends learning more about technology, marketing, and finance. After months of relentless work, I officially launched my first platform. It wasn't an immediate boom, but I saw positive signs. Small businesses started showing interest, more freelancers signed up, and I started seeing my user numbers increase every week. For the first time in months, I felt a little proud. It was a sense of elation, knowing that I was on the right track. But I didn't stop there. I knew that to truly succeed, I needed to take this platform to the next level. During late nights at work, images of Ava and Liam would occasionally pop into my head. I would recall the harsh words and contemptuous looks they gave me. But instead of breaking me down, those memories became a powerful source of motivation. I won't just succeed, I told myself. I'll make them regret misjudging me. Every time I remembered the betrayal, I worked harder, invested more in my project. I didn't just want to prove Ava wrong. I wanted to prove to the world that a broken man could still come out strong. After a year of hard work, the platform I built started to gain a lot of attention. Small businesses were not only using the service, but also recommending it to other partners. The media started to write about the success of the project, calling me a breakthrough founder in the technology industry. These compliments not only increased the value of the project, but also made me feel proud of myself. But success doesn't come without its challenges. I faced the challenges of managing a rapidly expanding team while balancing the care of 2 children. There are times when I want to give up, but thinking about Lily and Ethan's innocent eyes gives me more motivation. I know that I'm not only doing this for myself, but also to build a better future for them. My success peaked when a large corporation offered to buy the platform for millions of dollars. When I heard the news, I sat there in silence for a long time. This was something I never thought possible when I started this journey, that I could turn a small idea into such a valuable asset. After intense negotiations, I agreed to sell the platform on one condition. I would retain a stake and be involved in strategic decisions. This would not only provide me with financial stability, but would also allow me to maintain a presence in the industry and continue to expand my influence. The day I signed the deal, I looked at the numbers in my bank account and couldn't believe it. I had gone from a man who had lost everything to a self-made millionaire. But more than the money, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. I had finally regained control of my life. One evening, I received an invitation to a major tech industry event. It was a lavish party where entrepreneurs, investors, and celebrities gathered. I decided to attend, not only to network, but also to mark my return. At the event, while I was chatting with some investors, I suddenly saw Liam. He was also there, but this time, he no longer had the same confidence and power as before. Instead, Liam looked thin. His face seemed tense. I realized that his financial scandals that I had investigated had begun to affect his career. Our eyes locked, and for a moment I saw a flash of fear in Liam's eyes. He quickly looked away, but I decided not to let this opportunity slip away. I walked towards him, keeping my smile as natural as possible. "Liam," I said, my voice calm. "Long time, no see." Liam forced a smile. "Noah, I heard you're doing well." "Not bad," I replied, my eyes never leaving Liam. "What about you? I hear things haven't been going so well lately." Liam swallowed, his smile turning wry. "Oh, just a few small issues. Business, you know." I tilted my head, feigning sympathy. "Of course. Sometimes a few bad decisions can make things harder. But I'm sure you'll get through it." Liam didn't reply, his eyes averted. I knew he understood the implications of my words. The evidence I'd gathered about Liam's financial scandals had been passed on to some of the investors he had worked with. Although I had not directly sabotaged his career, I knew I had dealt a fatal blow. Liam was no longer the confident and powerful man I had once faced. As the event was coming to an end, I suddenly saw Ava. She was standing in the corner of the room, wearing an elegant dress but not as radiant as before. She had changed, no longer confident, arrogant. Instead, I noticed fatigue and a hint of regret in her eyes. Ava saw me and I could see her hesitate, but then she stepped closer, trying to keep her smile. "Noah," she said, her voice soft, "you look different. You look successful." "I guess so," I replied, keeping my voice even. She was silent for a moment, her eyes seeming to say something. I I heard about what you achieved. It was really impressive. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." "Excuse me?" I raised an eyebrow. "For what, Ava?" She bowed her head, not daring to look straight at me. "Because of everything. I was wrong. I didn't know that I had lost the only person who truly cared about me." Her words brought back all the memories, all the pain I had been through. But instead of feeling angry, I felt empty. Ava had lost the influence she once had on me. "I hope you find the happiness you've been looking for," I said, my voice calm. And I found mine. After the event, I returned home to Lily and Ethan, who were waiting for me. Seeing them, I realized that this was my real victory. Financial success is one thing, but creating a safe, loving environment for my children is the most important thing. I spent more time with my kids, took them on trips, did activities that I had never done before because I was too busy or trapped in a toxic marriage. This new life was not only a new beginning, but also a redemption for the years I had missed. I spent more time with my kids, took them on trips, did activities that I had never done before because I was too busy or trapped in a toxic marriage. This new life was not only a new beginning, but also a redemption for the years I had missed. News of Liam finally broke. His company went bankrupt after a series of lawsuits, and he was forced to sell his lavish home to pay off debts. Those who once praised him turned their backs on him, and Liam faded into obscurity. Ava tries to move on, but her reputation has been damaged by the divorce. Friends who once admired her have shunned her, and she realizes that Liam, the man she once trusted, has used her for his own ends. She lives alone, with a regret she can never mend. I have long known that the sweetest revenge is not to destroy another person's life by force or intimidation, but to force them to face the truth, openly, with nowhere to run. After the successes I have achieved, I feel it is time to act. The idea came to me when I was invited to throw a big party, an event to celebrate my status as one of the most successful entrepreneurs in my field. Instead of simply throwing a lavish party, I decided to turn it into the perfect stage to turn the tables on Ava and Liam. I sent out invitations to important people, partners, industry friends, and not forgetting Ava and Liam. I knew they wouldn't be able to resist their curiosity and attend, especially since I was now the center of attention. The party was held at a luxury hotel in the city center, with hundreds of guests. I hired the best event planners to make sure everything was perfect, from the lighting to the music to the menu. But the real highlight of the evening was not the extravagance, but a special part of the program that I had secretly planned. Before the party, I worked with my legal team to make sure that everything I was about to release was legal and uncontested. I gathered videos, text messages, and other evidence of Ava and Liam's infidelity, making sure it was presented clearly and indisputably. As expected, Ava and Liam both showed up at the party. Ava, still elegant despite her lack of glamour, entered the room with a confident but reserved air. Liam, on the other hand, looked tense, his eyes constantly scanning the crowd as if searching for something. As they entered, I stepped forward to greet them, maintaining a polite but cool demeanor. "Thank you both for coming," I said, my voice soft but full of meaning. "I hope you find this party memorable." Liam tried to smile, but I could see sweat starting to form on his forehead. Ava didn't respond, just nodded and looked away. Once everyone was seated, I stepped onto the stage to make my speech. "Thank you all for being here tonight," I said, my eyes scanning the crowd, stopping briefly at Ava and Liam. This is not just a celebration of success, but also an opportunity for me to share my story. a story of overcoming adversity and finding myself. I spoke briefly but emotionally about the hardships of my divorce, about how I had been betrayed by the people I trusted most. I didn't mention Ava or Liam by name, but my words were like sharp knives, stabbing straight into their complacency. And tonight, I continued, I want to share a small part of the truth that I have faced. This is not for revenge, but to remind you that all truths will eventually come out. The lights in the room dimmed, and on the large screen, videos and messages began to appear. The crowd fell completely silent, all eyes glued to the screen. As the evidence appeared, Ava's face paled, and Liam kept moving, as if he wanted to leave his seat but didn't dare. Murmurs began to fill the room as people realized what the videos were about. Some stared at Ava and Liam with a mixture of shock and disdain. I kept calm, showing no emotion. I wanted them to feel the full weight of this exposure without any opportunity to rebut or justify. After the show ended, the room fell into a stifling silence. All eyes were on Ava and Liam, the main characters who had just been exposed to the crowd. Ava sat motionless, her hands clasped together, her face pale and lifeless. Liam kept his head down, not daring to look up, as if he was looking for a way to escape the scrutiny around him. I stepped off the stage, took back the microphone, and looked straight at the crowd. Thank you all for listening, I said, my voice calm but sharp. I believe we have all learned an important lesson tonight. The truth can never be hidden forever, and honesty is the least we owe to those around us. As I finished speaking, Ava stood up abruptly. She turned to the crowd, trying to keep her voice steady, but she couldn't hide her trembling. I'm sorry for what happened, she said, her eyes darting around the room. But what you just saw was only part of the story. Relationships are complicated, and I think we all make mistakes. I chuckled, stepping closer to her. A mistake? I asked, my voice low but commanding. A mistake that didn't last for months, wasn't calculated and covered up as carefully as what you and Liam did. Ava looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. Noah, I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry, but I didn't think you would expose everything like this. So you think I'm going to keep quiet? Let you and Liam go on like nothing happened? I replied, not hiding my disdain. No, Ava, this is what you deserve. Before Ava could say anything more, Liam stood up abruptly. Enough, he shouted, his voice thick with tension. Noah, you're taking every opportunity to humiliate us. This doesn't prove you're better than us. It just proves you're our persistent enemy. I turned to Liam, feeling a strange satisfaction at seeing him lose his cool. Humiliation? I asked. No, Liam. This isn't humiliation. This is the truth. And I believe everyone in this room has the right to know who you really are. Liam looked around, seeking sympathy from the crowd, but all he got in return were cold, distant stares. No one was on his side anymore. Everyone had seen through the evidence I had presented. Everyone in the crowd started whispering to each other, their eyes filled with surprise and annoyance. A mutual friend of ours, who had been close to Ava and Liam, came up to me and said, Noah, I don't know what to say, but thank you for speaking the truth. I never thought they would do that. Those words made me realize that I did the right thing. Not only did I expose their betrayal, but I also won back the respect I deserved. After the party, things changed quickly for Ava and Liam. Their reputations were ruined, not only among their friends, but also within the community they had once belonged to. Ava, once admired for her charm and confidence, was now the butt of gossip. People who once looked up to her now avoided her, wanting nothing to do with her reputation. Liam, on the other hand, faced more serious consequences. The news of his financial scandals, which I had quietly revealed earlier, finally spread. He lost a big contract, was turned away by his partners, and went bankrupt. After the party ended, I returned home feeling a sense of relief I had never felt before. I no longer felt resentment or anger. All of those emotions were gone. Instead, I felt peace, a feeling I had been searching for a long time. I know that revenge is not the only way to heal, but in this case, it was necessary. I regained my honor, and more importantly, I proved that no one has the right to hurt me without facing consequences. The months after the party become a nightmare for Ava and Liam. Ava, who once strode confidently through a room, is now completely isolated. Friends who once worshipped her shun her, unwilling to be associated with the scandal that has been so publicly exposed. She tries to find her footing, but every step she takes is marked by what happened. She cannot escape the shadow of her past, a past she created. Ava sent me a long email, filled with regret. She admitted that she had been wrong, that she never deserved forgiveness, but still wanted a chance to make things right. She wrote, "Noah, I know I don't deserve any forgiveness from you, but I want you to know that not a day goes by that I don't think about what I did and what I lost. I didn't just lose you, I lost myself." I read those words, but instead of anger or heartache, I felt empty. Her words of regret meant nothing now. It was too late to change anything. And Liam, once a shadowy manipulator, now had to face the consequences of his own greed and fraud. The information I had secretly passed on to his partners was eventually used to expose all the dirty tricks in Liam's business. Lawsuits followed one after another, and he couldn't keep up. Liam sold everything he had left, his lavish home, his cars, and even his personal possessions, to pay off his debts. But money wasn't the only problem he faced. Liam's reputation was in tatters. He no longer had a place in the industry, no longer had the respect of those who had worked with him. Liam, who had once considered himself invincible, was now a shadow of his former self. One day, while I was walking my two children in the park, I happened to see Ava sitting alone on a bench. She looked haggard, her eyes staring blankly into space. Ethan and Lily ran toward me, their laughter ringing out, but Ava didn't seem to notice. I walked past her without stopping. I didn't need to say anything more. The silence was answer enough. Another time, I saw Liam in a small cafe. He looked haggard, his once neatly combed hair now a mess. When he saw me, he tried to say something, but in the end, he just bowed his head and walked away. Without a word, I knew he understood that he had been wrong, and that I was no longer the man I had once been. Throughout this journey, I have learned to let go of the burdens of the past. The wounds inflicted by Ava and Liam were once unbearable, but now they have become valuable lessons. I no longer obsess over betrayal or revenge. Instead, I focus on building the life that I and my children deserve. By facing my pain and overcoming it, I not only found myself, but I became a better, stronger version of myself. And that is true victory. From the darkest days of my life, I found light again thanks to my two children, Lily and Ethan. They were the biggest source of motivation, helping me overcome all difficulties and find myself again. I started spending more time with them, from attending school performances, small sports matches, to family outings filled with laughter. One day, while we were camping by the lake, Ethan suddenly asked, "Dad, are you sad that Mom is no longer here with us?" His question took me by surprise, but I smiled, patted his head, and replied, "Mom has chosen her own path, but Dad and you will always have each other, and that's all I need." Lily looked at me, her eyes shining, and said, "Dad, you are our superhero." Those innocent but sincere words were all I needed to know I was on the right track. Looking back on my journey, I realized that Ava and Liam's betrayal was not just a pain, but a gift in disguise. It was these challenges that forced me to reevaluate my life, face my own mistakes, and find the strength within. I understand that everyone makes mistakes, including me. While I can't justify Ava's actions, I do recognize that I failed to listen to her and to recognize the signs of a broken relationship. But instead of blaming, I choose to learn from them. I've learned that respect and honesty are the foundations of any relationship. One day, while I was working in the office, I received a handwritten letter. It was from Ava. In the letter, she described her current life, a life full of hardship, loneliness, and regret. She admitted that her bad decisions had cost her everything: her family, her friends, and most importantly, herself. She ended the letter with these heartfelt words: "Noah, I don't expect you to forgive me, but I do hope you know that I'm truly sorry. You are always a better person than I thought, and I hope you're happy, even without me in your life." I read the letter, and I no longer felt anger or resentment. Instead, I felt a quiet understanding. I put the letter in a drawer without replying. I had let go of the past, and Ava needed to learn to do the same. I haven't heard anything from Liam other than that he's moved to a small town, away from the glare of society. Maybe he's trying to rebuild his life, or maybe he's just running away. But to me, it doesn't matter anymore. As for Ava, she still lives in the same city, but in a completely different world. She no longer appears at social parties or big events. I've heard that she started working at a nonprofit organization, trying to do something meaningful to atone for her past mistakes. It may be her way of finding her own self worth, and I really hope she succeeds. For me, the journey does not stop here. The success I have achieved in my work is only part of the story. I have realized that the true meaning of life is not about revenge or proving anything to others, but about living fully and being true to yourself. I started getting involved in community projects, helping people who were struggling in their marriages and lives. I used my story to inspire them, to tell them that no matter what pain they were facing, they could still get up and move on. The biggest lesson I learned from this journey is no one can destroy your life without your permission. Whether you are hurt or betrayed, we always have a choice to wallow in pain or use it as a springboard to rise up. I chose the latter, and now, not only am I alive, I'm better than ever. With Lily and Ethan by my side, a job, and meaningful new relationships, I know I've truly won.